Margo is chief economist at the American Council for Capital Formation. That's a group that gets funding from a lot of folks, Exxon, Bank of America, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and some other corporations and associations. Margo, welcome to Street Smart. So you say this doesn't make sense. What's your main argument here?
Well, electric vehicles have been with us 180 years. The first one was invented in Scotland in 1832. So with 180 years of work on technological development, the product is still not commercial. So the challenges are the batteries that power plug-in electric vehicles have a short range. They're very expensive, costing as much as $20,000 per battery. They might last 6 or 8 years, so when a consumer purchases a car like that for perhaps $45,000, the residual value of the electric vehicle is going to be very low. The batteries are not tested for safety. The technological challenges are very great. So I think after 180 years, if the product is still not commercially viable, we question how much whether we should continue to subsidize this product.
Hey, Margo, I have to say, I read your op-ed this morning. I thought it was fantastic. There was a lot of stuff in there I didn't already know, so I would recommend that people go grab the journal and check it out because it's very interesting. On the other hand, I have driven a couple electric cars. I drove a Tesla, which does 0 to 60 in like 4 seconds flat. It's faster than a Porsche Carrera, which is a fantastic sports car. I drove the Chevy Volt, which I thought was an incredibly high-quality car. It feels like you're driving an Audi around, a much more expensive European car. But, of course, these are expensive cars. They're not the kind of cars that you can do everything you can with, say, a Ford Explorer, a family truckster. They're definitely the first generation, the first models, and you got to start somewhere. Don't you think it's kind of cool that we have these really exciting, really fun products to kick off something that could evolve into an incredible industry?
Well, I think after 180 years, if we were going to be able to make it an affordable product that many consumers would want, it would have already been developed. So I think rather than use taxpayer money to further subsidize this industry, we ought to be thinking about deficit reduction.
I don't know, the Chevy Volt's 40 grand. I mean, that's not too terribly expensive. You can use it as your everyday car because it has a gasoline engine as well, and it's sort of the first one for early adapters. I'm sure that it will come along quickly. The batteries have evolved so amazingly now. It used to be that you couldn't make these cars because the batteries were too big, and now you're looking at batteries that are the size of an average suitcase.
Well, you have to think about the average price right now for a car in the U.S. is about $22,000. Most people can't afford $35,000 or $45,000 for a car. Right now, even the Consumer Reports review of the Chevrolet Volt said they only got 27 miles on a charge in the Connecticut winter. So the distance you can go on in a plug-in electric vehicle really depends on the weather
Margo,
and driving conditions.
I'm going to go back to Matt's argument. Don't we have to start somewhere? I mean, at some point, oil's going to run out. It's also not so good that we're beholden to the Middle East when it comes to oil at this point. I mean, don't we need to continue to pursue these avenues? Because eventually, if you produce enough electric vehicles, the price will come down, you'll have economies of scale, and it all will kind of pull through.
Well, as I say, since 1832, we've been working on this, and we haven't made that technological breakthrough. That's not to say it won't happen at some point. But right now, when deficit reduction is a key policy goal among the American taxpayers and policymakers here in Washington, the thought of spending an additional, for example, the Obama administration wants 1 million electric vehicles on the road by 2015. Subsidizing those to the tune of $7,500 a car could cost as much as $7.5 billion. So you think about the opportunity cost of those funds. Furthermore, if we're concerned about dependence on foreign oil, a positive step we can take is to allow oil and gas companies to do more exploration on lands that are closed to them right now. The Department of Energy data shows that we've already begun to produce more oil in this country. So I think we could do a lot to reduce our dependence by expanding development here in the U.S.
Hey, I say, if you're against the government subsidies, I think there's a whole list of subsidies that a lot of people would agree with you about.
And the oil industry has gotten a lot of U.S. subsidies and subsidies from the government. So,
you know, if they just cut them all out, I think a lot of people would be happy, a lot of people unhappy, of course. But, you know, you had the record player invented 100 years ago, and then the Betamax was too expensive for the average person to buy, and now you can get a DVD player pretty much for free. So I think the evolution of these things...
The point of that is they didn't take a government subsidy to do it. When the computer was invented, you didn't have to subsidize people to give up their typewriters. They switched because the computer was more productive. There are serious issues of consumer acceptance with electric vehicles.
We've got to go. We've run out of time, but fun talking with you, and we appreciate it. Margo Thorning, Executive Vice President and Chief Economist at the American Council for Capital Formation.